So I've lately made some fairly radical changes to my diet. I've cut grains out. It's not something I ever thought that I would do, but it came recommended through the medical medium, which I'm following. So I thought, okay, I'll try it, and it's been quite effortless. I've filled the gap with potatoes and lentils and beans, and that's been working quite nicely for me. But I do find myself craving sweets, and so I always know that that's some kind of protein deficiency. So while I may think it's working well for me, on another level, I'm needing to adjust and rebalance. Now, I've also completely cut out dairy. I wasn't doing a lot before. I mean, I just had some butter and occasionally I'd have some cheese, but I'm really liking the way that feels in my body to have completely cut dairy out. But the biggest change I've probably made is that I'm no longer eating eggs. Now, for years, eggs was my major source of protein, particularly animal protein, and I've always felt that unless I had some animal protein on a regular basis, it wasn't as if my body was able to read what I was taking in as protein as a complete protein. So I've been lately thinking a lot about this more in depth because I'm not feeling completely energized by the diet that I'm on right now. So I started to look at the protein question a little bit more in detail because it can be quite controversial. So I just really was thinking, like, what exactly is going on in the body in terms of protein, ingestion and assimilation. And so what I found, of course, proteins are the major building block of the whole body, right? Enzymes, which are proteins, catalyze every reaction in every cell of your body. Hormones are proteins, so they're really, really important, right? And you want to get good quality protein. So basically, there's 22 essential amino acids, and 8 of those need to come from the food that you eat, whereas the rest of them can be synthesized in the body. Now, the body doesn't directly take proteins from the food that you eat. It actually breaks them down into these essential building blocks, amino acids, and they're released into the bloodstream, and then in the bloodstream, these amino acids are reconstructed into proteins that your body can actually use. So, if when you take in protein, it's not complete, it can either synthesize the amino acids it's missing, or it will actually be deficient, and then therefore, is going to lead to a state where you don't feel as energized as you would as if you had had complete protein. So one of the most novel methods that I found in researching this is something called this 5+5 diet, right? So what you do at a meal, and at least one meal a day is it's recommended that you do this, is you have probably 65 to 75% of the meal is going to be vegetables, right? Because vegetables are expanding and alkalizing, and they balance the contracting acidic nature of proteins. And then the 25 to 35% of your meal will be protein. So with the 5+5 diet is you're having 5 proteins at a meal, 4 are raw, 1 is cooked, and then 5 vegetables at a meal. 4 are raw and 1 is cooked of the vegetables. So the way this may look when it plays out, for examples, you'll have some chicken will be your protein, and then you have, let's say, asparagus, so that would be your cooked vegetable, and then you would have a salad with your 4 raw vegetables. It could be, your choice. And then the 4 raw proteins would be seeds and nuts, right? And so the actual protein, when you put it all together, really doesn't sort of, take up more space than, say, the size of your palm, actually. And in this way, you would be getting the complete complement of amino acids. And over time, and I have done this in the past, and it's amazing how it just feels like it balances out hormones. You know, it just left me feeling almost alive in a completely different kind of way. It's like the body just pops. And so what's suggested and in the book that I was reading called the Pro-vita plan is that you have at least 1 meal a day with this protein vegetable complement. The best thing is to have it in the morning for breakfast, but be sure not to have it after 2 p.m. And you can have up to 18% starch in your diet, like for example potatoes. And as long as it doesn't go over 18%, your body will still read this as a protein meal. So I'm going to do another video on protein and talk about what this actually looks like, because sometimes it helps to have it modeled. So I'll just sort of explain how I'm putting it together, and then it might be something you want to try.